term and a half of high school.
Yeah, I like it. Two years of high school. Well, I dropped out of high school, so you might be even with me.
Touche. So, how you feeling about your book?
Oh man, I'm pumped. I mean, I am beyond excited about that. It's the first time I've ever been. Well, I mean, I was pretty vulnerable in my comedy special, but this is like I start telling like truth bombs. Like I talk about stuff I'm not proud of, like things that I made mistakes and
Yeah.
just, the stuff that is important to admit and acknowledge when you're learning. So
Hmm.
like the very first chapter of the book talks about, I think the first line in the book is the third time I had my car repossessed. Like,
Damn.
oh yeah, yeah. We get right into it. We get right into it.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to not have my cars repossessed. However, I've had my fair share of bullshit with cars, man.
Sure, sure.
Not my first car, but my second car. I got T-boned, totaled the car, got they had to cut the car open, took from the back seat, broke my neck, blah blah
Oh
blah.
man.
Um, totaled another car, got hit head on, 3/4 of the way head on by a semi, kicked the car open, survived that. I don't know how. I might not have had them repossessed, but I've
I
got
I
I've got my fair
I'd
share of.
start using Uber at this point.
It's better off. You're better off taking the chances, man. That shit's just as expensive as a taxi now.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy, especially here in Chicago.
What part you live in, man?
I'm in the west suburbs, a city called Naperville.
I know where
Uh,
they say it,
yeah,
Naperville.
it
Yeah,
gets some news because there's a lot of racist people out here, but but there's
to
it's
be
kind of
fair,
a
it's everywhere, though. I
it's
mean,
that's true. That's true. It's kind of an affluent city, but
yeah.
I'm not affluent. So like
Hmm.
my wife and I kind of snuck in under the radar, but it is what it is. We're very fortunate to live in a city that's very popular. Um, but like I said, like we got lucky. We got lucky with the
Yeah,
house and we're hoping now that the kids are older and graduated and all that, now we're hoping to make some of that money and flip it and then downsize into like a condominium or a townhome somewhere that's not Naperville. But,
yeah,
you know, every day at a time.
for sure. I'm pretty familiar with Chicago myself. My cousin graduated from DePaul,
Okay.
and then I had another lady who I'm fairly close with that I would consider a cousin. I've known her all my life, basically, or 20 something years of my life. Went to Roosevelt in downtown
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm fairly familiar with Chicago. You a Cubs fan?
No, I grew up on the South Side, so I'm a Sox guy, black and white.
Ah, I'm
Gotta
a
be.
Reds fan. I can't say nothing. We
That's
suck.
no, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, Reds is fine as long as I like the White Sox and whoever's playing against the Cubs. So that's how it is. But our White Sox are killing it right now, man.
No, they definitely are. I think the bad thing before we get into more pressing matters, however you want to word it, I think for me the thing that sucks the most about the Reds is the lack of brain usage when it comes to the front office. You know,
I think that's probably everybody's complaint
it's
about every ball team.
market stuff, but damn it, when
Yeah.
you have a player that comes like Della, Cruz, I don't
Mhm.
care what you do, you go broke for a player like that. He's generational.
We have the same struggles in Chicago. Like we
He'll end
back
up with
in
the Dodgers. He'll end up with the Dodgers. Watch.
yeah, it's like back in 2005 when we had our World Series run, we had an amazing team. And it was like,
Phenomenal,
well, who are we
actually.
gonna who
Yeah.
are we gonna keep? And like they could barely keep anybody because they never want to open the purse strings. So it's always the way it is in Chicago. We always have a buddy of mine before the Cubs finally won their World Series. One of my buddies, another comedian, used to make a joke that Cubs fans were like battered wives. Like, oh, they're going to change. This next year's going to be different. It's not my joke, but
It is it bad for me to say I agree?
I
I
mean, it
mean, I'm
is.
jokingly agreeing, but I mean, it's like
It,
how
it,
untrue actually is it if you break it down and think about it?
yeah. I mean, I suppose you could say the same thing about politics these days, but yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're just watching things happen to people, like, what are you going to do? Anyway.
So, what made you decide to write a book, and how long was the process of you writing the book?
So it was one of those things where as you do what I do and you do a lot of self promotion and you're making the phone calls or sending the emails to different
Yeah.
comedy venues or just any venue for any type of show. I do more than just comedy, so it's music and comedy and acting and all the other movies. But you have ups and downs. You have weeks where people are blowing your phone up and it's awesome, and then there's days when it's crickets and there's nothing,
Mhm.
and you kind of just go mad. And one of the things I've learned is that you just keep going. You keep going because it seems like a desert wasteland, and then all of a sudden you'll get an email from a comedy club owner who saw something I did 6 months ago, and they were like, "Oh, this thing you did, I just saw." Well, I did that 6 months ago, but now it's fresh for that guy, and so he's reaching out. So it's kind of like, wow, if I had just given up,
Yeah.
then I'd have no chance. So I got into a point where I was in a down slump, and I was like, you know what? I I kind of stopped and looked back on my life and over 30 plus years of just being in the entertainment business, and I was like, I don't share this with a lot of people, but this is kind of like opening the hood of, what's under the hood of my life.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in entertainment, comics, wrestlers, actors, singers, they'll talk to me and bend my ear and ask me, well, what did I do? Or what did I, how was I successful in one area versus another? And after a while, it was like, man, I should just be telling everybody this stuff. I mean, it's not a big secret. It's only a
Right.
secret in the sense that a lot of people don't share the information. So I said, I'm just going to sit down and get to work. And so what started months and months ago of trying to figure out, okay, well, what stories do I want to tell? It's like part memoir, part survival guide of how to be an entertainer. And because this business is brutal. I mean, everybody is literally out for themselves. Everybody,
I
people
got a
that
cousin.
even
Yeah.
people that I
Sorry.
love and adore,
Yeah.
and I consider friends, but sometimes I'm considering them more than they consider me, which is okay. It's okay because that's a choice, right? But I know wrestlers and actors and comedians who would stab me in the back if it meant they got an opportunity for themselves, and that's fine as long as you are aware that that is the playing field. Then and the choice to kind of forgive and be okay with that is it's mine. So
Yeah.
once I've kind of decided, okay, I'm not going to hate people for doing what's good for them. That just means I got to do what's good for me.
Hmm.
And once you come to that realization, then it's also like, okay, well, if two parties are aware that hey, we're both trying to take care of ourselves, then you can kind of relax with each other and you kind of start to trust each other to a point, and then it becomes a whole different relationships. So it's like there's I've got really good friends, I've got really good acquaintances, and then I've
Yep.
got people that, we look at each other from across the room and it's kind of like, hey, hey, and then like I'll never see that person again. And it's everything in between. But that's kind of the beauty of this universe of trying to just entertain people. You know what I mean?
One thing I learned about people, man, is before I get into what I was going to say is I got a cousin. My second cousin was on Ally McBeal for 5 years. Was
Okay.
New York on cover for like the last 3 or 4 years. Did 7 or 8 seasons, however long Cougar Town was around. Did it
Okay.
for all that. So he's what you some of the stuff you were just saying. He's told me, and
Oh
he's
yeah.
also very adamant about it.
Yeah.
One thing that stood out to me that I've learned on my own as I progress in my journeys with what I got going on, and you'll probably attest to this. People will always support you as long as you're doing less than them.
Yes. I literally have an entire chapter in the book about that very thing. They
It's
it,
crazy, and it
if
comes from
you
people you've known the longest.
oh yeah, yeah, I'm literally going through it right now with the announcement of the release of this book. And I'm just kind of like mentally having fun with, the people who say stuff versus who do stuff, and
Receipts, they
yeah,
come in
it's
handy.
it's funny. It's funny, and it's again, you have to be careful. I also talk about this in the book too because it's very easy to become petty, very easy to get salty about it, and it's there's no good that comes from that. So I try to just stay above that. But yeah, there's a whole chapter in the book that talks about when you're talking about plans and you're thinking about doing something, everybody's like, hey, you should totally do it. Yeah, you should totally do it. The moment you put rubber to the road and start doing it, that's when the naysayers come out. That's when it all becomes,
100%.
yeah, like, oh, well, I just shared something from Grant Cardone today that's he commented, uh, the quote was, you're doing it wrong from everybody who hasn't done anything. Like,
That's true.
they're all on the sidelines with an opinion and I'm out here swinging, that's all there is to it. But it's, again, it's very easy to become jaded and negative, and I don't like being that kind of personality, so I do everything I can to try to stay above that and just kind of just float, float above that stuff. I mean, if I'm honest, it's very easy to do it. So I have
Yeah.
to I have to fight myself from becoming that. But yeah, it's who's your friend or your cousin who was doing all that stuff?
Josh Hopkins.
Okay, the name is not familiar, but that
He's my mother's first cousin, my second cousin, and his
okay.
dad was also Congressman of the United States that represented the state of Kentucky for 12 years. And his
Oh,
sister,
fantastic!
Shay, is the person that runs KET, Kentucky Entertainment Television.
Love it.
Yeah. So, and I did church choir for 6 years. It's
Oh
crazy to
yeah.
think I did school, always did school plays. So, and with what I do as far as media and everything else, I'm trying to build on my own. Like, I guess you could kind of quintessentially say it runs in the family.
Sure. No, it does. It does. My mom was a singer. My father was a musician. My
Yeah,
uncles were musicians. I mean, it's entertain. My grandmother is always
DNA,
the life of the
DNA.
party.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, DNA for sure, for sure. I totally believe that.
So, how did you get hooked up with Al Snow, and how did you get involved with OVW, and when did you first fall in love with wrestling? I know that's a multifaceted question, but
Well, we'll go
all
backwards.
three apply in the
Yeah,
same.
no, for sure. We'll go backwards. So, I mean, I fell in love with wrestling like most people as a kid. I mean, I grew up in the '80s
Do you
watching.
remember? Let me ask you this: do you remember when wrestling back when WWE used to be called WWF? They used to do the flip books at. They sold them at freaking Arby's, and they
Yes.
had one with the Road Warriors.
Oh yeah.
That's
What a
how far back my
rush.
knowledge goes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I absolutely I was the market. It was early '80s and I was, all about Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan and the Sheik
Hell yeah.
and the Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man. I mean, that was definitely me and my friends. I grew up in a little town called Worth, Illinois. We lived in an apartment complex, and me and like the neighbor kids from the different apartment units, we'd be out in the front having backyard wrestling matches, and I'd be, Ultimate Warrior or Hulk Hogan or Roddy Piper, and
100%.
we'd be, beating the hell out of each other, and just we did that, and
But you enjoyed it though, so that's
oh
what made it
yeah,
great.
oh yeah,
100%.
no, of course. Like I said, I was definitely the market, and then when I was in high school, this is fun. When I was in high school, I went to Oak Forest High School, and I ran around in the Tinley Park area. And one fella from the area by the name of Phil Brooks used to mess around with us, and that dude was
I'm
serious.
actually jealous now that you say that.
Yeah, that dude was serious, and I got
People can
hurt.
say what they want about him, dude, but you know what?
Yeah,
Like Frank Sinatra, I did it my way, and that applies to CM Punk, Phil,
dude.
whatever you want to call him. You got to
Let me
respect that. I don't
let
care
me
what
tell you
people's
something.
opinions are of him. I don't agree with a
We
lot of stuff he does, but you know what? I respect the hell out of him because he did it
he
his way and he's
he
successful.
is definitely everything you think he is. He absolutely was when I was a kid.
Right.
Absolutely was. And when he continued to succeed, me and my friends were all kind of like, of course he is. Of course he is. Because that's
He
who he
stayed the
was.
course. Yeah.
That's yeah. And he was so, dude, he was so passionate. Like we were just kids, goofing off.
Yeah.
And he'd be pissed that we were goofing off. He'd be like, take this seriously. And we're like, dude, we're high school kids. We're just goofing off trying to like make chicks, pay attention to us, which was a weird way to do it. But
A little
yeah,
weird.
yeah, but that was, that was who he was. I got hurt pretty quick doing it, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I don't want to do that. And I went off and tried to do my own thing musically. But yeah, I actually don't mention punk in the book, but if I ever do a full on biography, I might. But
You'd almost have to, and he
oh
wouldn't care
yeah,
to
yeah,
know him like that.
yeah.
That's pretty damn cool.
But I mean, dude, I have nothing negative to say about him at all. But anyway, so like I absolutely grew up ingrained. Wrestling was always just a part of. It's just another tool of storytelling that I love,
Hmm.
and yeah. So as I continued on with my entertainment career, it started off with music, and I did music for decades, and then I got into comedy, and as I was doing comedy, I was still always having, just interest in different things. And I was doing podcasts, and I was at C2E2, a Chicago comic convention, and promoting my podcasts. And Mr. Kennedy, Ken Anderson, walked up.
Kennedy.
Kennedy, and he and I talked, and he wanted to start a podcast, so I helped him produce a podcast, and we became fast friends. And then at that
I
same
didn't realize
convention,
how cool of an individual the person actually
yeah.
is. That he is. He's a pretty damn cool
Oh
person.
yeah, yeah. No, he and I go way back, and he introduced me to a guy named Dave Hero, who
Is that you
ran.
on the TV?
Oh yeah, that's just my screensaver. Sorry.
Damn! Congrats on the weight loss. I remember you
Oh
talked about
yeah,
it in your comedy special.
yeah,
Holy shit!
yeah. I dropped
Congrats, dude. Good for
two hundred
you.
and fifty pounds gone. But yeah, so I met Dave Hero, who ran GLCW, a promotion in Wisconsin, the Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. And through Dave, he introduced me to Al Snow, and it was
Makes
nice
sense.
because
Yeah.
I was introduced as a comedian, so Al immediately knew me as a comedian, and just kept running into Al through Dave's promotions because he's one of Dave's best friends. And one day, I get a phone call from Al, and he was like, "Hey, Dave, I got to talk to you." So what's going on, Al? He's like, "Well, I'm getting booked to go to Sydney, Australia with Mick Foley, and we're going to do comedy. And I wanted to run some jokes past you and see what you think." And I thought, okay, well, here we go. Let's hear what your jokes are. And I honestly did not know if they were going to be funny. And he started to give me his set, and I had tears in my eyes. I was laughing so hard. And after like 2 hours on the phone with Al, I said, Al, dude, you got to be doing stand up. Like you got to be getting out there
Yeah.
and doing some comedy. So he had been like tweeting jokes every day, and like,
Some of his stuff's pretty damn good.
oh my god, it just comes from a place of mental darkness that I think he has, that's just so crazy and wacky and funny,
He needs
and he
more
comes
help.
up with stuff so
Yeah.
quick. But it was during the pandemic. Well, no, it was before the pandemic when we had this conversation, and I said to him, "Hey, man, we should, if you want to do some shows together, I'd love to do some shows with you." And he's like, "Oh yeah." So I was like, "I'd come down to Louisville or whatever. We'd do some comedy clubs or whatever, just do open mics, just silly stuff."
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and everybody got locked down, and I couldn't do any comedy, and I couldn't travel, and it was a mess. And then when the pandemic started lifting, the lockdown started lifting, I was up in Wisconsin, and Al was there, and we started, bullshitting. And I said, "Hey, we never really finished that conversation about doing comedy." And he was like, "I've got nothing going on." So we proceeded to book what ended up becoming a 2-year national tour of the two of us doing stand up comedy together.
Hell yeah.
And we called it the Tag Team Comedy Tour with Al Snow and David Vox Mullen. And I mean, we went everywhere, and that's in the book too. And it was such an amazing learning experience. Great shows, terrible shows. We had them all. We had them all, and it was neat. And then one day he called me, and he was like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing TV for me?" And I was like, fuck yeah, you know. And long story short, they wrote a character for me, and I became known as a reoccurring, the chief executive officer of the board of directors for OVW. So I'd kind of come in as the Jack Tunney character, and
Yeah.
it was great. I mean, I loved it, and I don't think I got fired, so I could always come back at any time. I don't know what they're gonna do, but yeah, with everything going on with OVW right now, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I'll always say yes if they ever ask. It's always a blast.
So
But
I got a
that's how I
couple
got
more.
hooked up with Al.